Up, it's AG Sports. Breathing slightly better today, so hopefully I don't sound terrible. But I'm gonna go over a couple things with you guys. So yes, I do have picks. I have 2 picks that I've added to this week's games. I have some other picks. So I always tell you guys to follow me on Twitter, and it's because there are things that come up that happen either right before game time or maybe a little before game time, and I don't have time to make videos on it. And really the best way to put those picks out there is on Twitter. It's not usually a lot. It's probably like every other week or every 3 weeks, something like that. But if you have any interest in that, a lot of times that is where I will give out like the prop plays or first touchdowns, whatever. Follow me at Twitter at AG_sports21. Just find me in there. Follow me. Like I said, it's not like I'd say 100% on Twitter, but usually the plays I give out are pretty plus EV on there, and that's really the only time I like to send them out. Last night, the play was Daryl Williams over 16.5 receiving yards, and I think that hit in like the first half. I want to say he ended up with 61 receiving yards. I mean, it wasn't even close. So, pretty good there. But also, I am giving a play for the fight this upcoming Saturday. And if you don't know, and I might have mentioned it before, might not have, after football, my favorite sport is boxing. And yeah, I know there's a bunch of UFC guys out there. That's cool. UFC is fine. I will take a great boxing match every single time over a great UFC fight. Sorry, that's just preference. But for the sake of betting, one thing I really like about boxing is that the over-unders usually leave themselves open for a hedge. So bear with me. I'm going to give you a little bit of talk on the fight because I have a play that I really like. After the fight, though, I have a couple things about some teams from this past week. Just recapping and really looking at some angles on certain teams for the NFL. And then, of course, we have the picks. So that's what we're going to get into today. And let's get started off with the fight. If you have not watched Canelo Alvarez, I have to say it right or else I get my brown card taken away. He is basically the modern day Mike Tyson of middleweights. He's a bad dude. And I've loved him ever since he first really came on. If you are kind of familiar with it, he has one loss his entire career, one official loss. That was to Mayweather. At the time, Mayweather really just outclassed him. Mayweather was faster. He had great defense. Canelo couldn't lay a glove on him. And I mean, most people did that, right, with Mayweather. Canelo's power up until that point, and it's funny because I went back and I watched highlights and film from Canelo, and you can see, because at the time he was 23, you can see the transformation that happened after that fight. Because leading up to it, he went pro at 15 years old. So from 15 until 23, he was just knocking motherfuckers out. That was his job. I'm going to go in there, I'm probably going to get hit a lot, but I'm going to knock your ass out. And at some point, you are going to stop throwing punches because I'm just hitting you so hard. And then I'm just going to chase you around the ring until I can knock you out one good time or, give you one good hit. And that was the way he fought. Obviously, when he stepped up in competition to Mayweather, that wasn't how it worked. That's why he lost. After that fight, though, you see him be a lot more technical. If you don't watch a lot of boxing, or if you just have not really watched Canelo a lot, his style, yes, he is still a bruiser. Yes, he's still looking for knockouts, but he is so much more of a tactician now. He's slipping punches. He's great on defense. He doesn't really ever get, cut up, because a lot of times you'll see even the best fighters like a Manny Pacquiao or whoever you've liked in the last 20 years. Even those guys get touched up and they'll have bruises and cuts and shit like that by the end of the fight. Even Oscar De La Hoya when he was in his prime. Canelo, I'm not saying he doesn't ever get hit, but if you just watch the post-fight interviews, it's very, very seldom that this kid has anything on him. I mean, it looks like he just got out of a damn shower. I'm bringing all this up because Caleb Plant is 21-0 with 12 knockouts, and that is so damn misleading. Caleb Plant has not fought anybody yet. Not anybody close to the level of Canelo. To me, this is, if you could kind of replace Caleb Plant with Canelo, this is his fight against Mayweather. This is his first big step up in competition. It's a mandatory, or they're trying to make it mandatory because they want to unify the belts. A whole bunch of other shit's going on, but at the end of the day, what really matters is Caleb Plant has never fought anybody close to Canelo. Caleb Plant was the whipping boy in Mayweather's gym for a long time. He worked out there. Guys basically sparred against him to kind of build their confidence. And apparently he got tired of getting his ass kicked, so he got better. And he got to the point where he was really good at defense, and he had the right manager to kind of bring him up the ropes. And he ended up winning the super middleweight championship in some bullshit somewhere. The guys that he has fought are not as strong. They're not as fast. They're not as technical as Canelo. And I'm giving you guys this whole breakdown, but what really matters is the super middleweight division has been dominated by Canelo. The last few fights, if you didn't watch it or if you didn't see hear the news about it, Canelo was fighting Billy Joe Saunders. Billy Joe Saunders is very similar to Caleb Plant in that he doesn't have a lot of power. He's more of like a slick fighter, like a Pernell Whitaker, Mayweather wannabe, where they can slip punches. They have some decent defense, and they'll hit you back, but they're probably not going to knock you out, especially if you have a good chin the way Canelo does. And a lot of times with Canelo, that's a real danger because this dude walks through punches and he walks through bombs. So if you're just kind of relying on I'm going to jab and get out of the way, you better keep running the whole fight because he's not going to get stopped. He's not going to just cover up because you hit him with the jab. In that fight, Canelo stopped Saunders in the 8th round. Saunders threw a punch, missed, and his head went right into Canelo's uppercut, and he literally broke his damn eye. He broke his orbital bone in several pieces, fractured it. He didn't come out of the corner after that round was over. And I as far as I know, they still have not confirmed if Billy Joe Saunders is ever going to be able to fight again because the damage to his eye socket, was that damn bad. The fight before that, Canelo fought Yildirim, just some mandatory competition. Dude was really not that good. He was like a sparring partner with Canelo for a long time. And if you go back and you watch that pre-fight, you can kind of tell he knew he was just there because he had to be. Canelo went in there, beat the shit out of him for 3 rounds, and at the end of the coming into the 4th round, the guy just didn't get off the stool. He said, "Nope, not going back in there. Hell no." Canelo had already knocked him down. Canelo knocked him down in the 2nd round, and Yildirim is not as good defensively as Caleb Plant or as Billy Joe Saunders, but he's a much bigger dude. He's just a thicker, heavier guy who kind of has to cut weight to make the weight division at super middleweight. But he was like, "No, I'm not taking that hit again." The fight before that was against Callum Smith. Callum Smith had the benefit that his older brother had already fought Canelo. So his older brother also helped in the training. They kind of knew what to expect or what it would be like to be in the ring with Canelo. And I think that really helped him. If nothing else, if it wasn't so much the coaching aspect, that might have been more from the mental aspect of things of hey, look, go in there, but just know, these punches are going to hurt. And his brother was able to give him kind of a firsthand, retelling of what happened to him. That Callum Smith fight was decent, and just that Callum Smith didn't get knocked down or he didn't stay in the corner. But the entire fight, Canelo was beating him. I mean, it wasn't even close. I don't think the guy won a single round. And Canelo got to the point where he was like, you know what, I'm just going to throw hard punches, and if you want to block them, but I'm going to hit you really hard somewhere. And he kept pounding this dude on his, I believe it was his right arm. And by the end of the fight, the tricep of Callum Smith had detached because he had been hit so many times so hard, and he was using that portion of his arm to block these punches. His damn bicep or tricep detached from the arm. It was huge. It was like he had a grapefruit on the side of his arm at the end of that fight. I don't even know how he didn't just quit at some point. But that's 3 guys all in the same weight division that basically they ended up in the hospital immediately after the fight with Canelo. And that's why I say he is like the Mike Tyson of this era right now. But unlike Tyson, he doesn't have a drug problem. He doesn't have like behavioral issues. He doesn't have anything else. He seems very, very focused on just boxing. The last fight that Canelo did not hospitalize somebody was against something Sergey. I forget what his first name is. But it was because Canelo literally had to step up to light heavyweight. He went from middleweight to super middleweight to light heavyweight. He won the fight convincingly. He just couldn't knock the guy out because the guy was a lot bigger than him, a lot naturally heavier than him. So, why am I giving you all this? Why have I talked for 10 minutes about boxing on a football channel? Because the under 9.5 rounds seems like gold to me. I can't stay off it. I know I always say, like, just, stay disciplined, do your one unit, and that's it. This is one of the rare times I went 2 units on this. I'll probably kick myself the night of the fight. I'm not saying you should do that because it does make you tilt a little bit more, but I feel so strongly about this one that I have the under 9.5 for 2 units. Now, why would I feel confident about that or so confident about that? Well, with boxing, like I said, it really lends itself to hedging. There's only 12 rounds in a fight, and the under 9.5 covers you for round 9. So it literally covers you to the point where in this case, Caleb Plant would have to come out of the fight. Like, he'd have to come out of the corner into the 10th round. And I think that Caleb Plant has some defense. He's fast enough to maybe avoid some punches through those early rounds, through rounds like 1 through 6. It'll probably be like 7, 8, probably more like 8 or 9, where I would expect Canelo to end this fight. But in case he doesn't, there is a possibility that they go to the corners at the end of the 9th round. He just doesn't come back out for the 10th. If something's hurt, something's fractured, he's broken his hand, whatever. But let's just say that doesn't happen. Well, what are we going to do? We can hedge by taking the 10th, 11th, and 12th round stoppage. So if my unit size is $200, to win $200 on these individual rounds, because each round is like plus $1,200 or more, it's only going to cost you $40. So if you wanted to do that, again, you can feel free to maneuver this however you want. But basically, I'm going to put in a unit or 2 units or whatever, and the hedge is going to be very, very small. The hedge is going to be like a quarter of a unit. Now, obviously, the only way that you lose this is if the fight goes the full 12 rounds, and it's boxing. I mean, anything could happen. I've seen some guys just try to act tough, and they make it through the 12 rounds. This is one of those times, especially with a fighter like Caleb Plant, who's young, who's a champion, who has a very particular manager that wants him to do well. I don't think this fight is going to go the full 12. If he gets hurt, if it's clear that he has not won a single round, and it's like round 9 or 10 already, I really, really believe Caleb Plant's corner is going to throw in the towel, or he'll stop the fight himself, or the referee will stop the fight. But basically, if there's any indication that this is going sideways really quick, they're going to stop this fight. They want to protect their fighter. So, again, I'm saying all this because the bet itself just seems so good to me with such an easy hedge that I would feel bad for not bringing it up. So, if you follow me, great. I hope you do, and I hope you get a chance to watch that fight. If you don't, wish me luck on this one. I'm sorry for taking 15 minutes. I'll put it in the details. You can skip the first 15 minutes if you're not interested in the fight. But now let's go ahead and move on to some football. All right, so one thing I wanted to bring up here, and I don't have a play on this game necessarily, but the Packers and the Chiefs. I watched the Chiefs last night. If you didn't, you really didn't miss a whole lot. Really same old from the Chiefs that they've given us this year at least. Turnovers in the red zone. It's not bad play calling. It's just like bad adjustments. It's just crazy to me that Andy Reid and his coaching staff know defenses are going to play him a certain way. Like, they're going to use the 2 high safeties. They're not going to give you the easy, bomb shots. But they refuse to change the play calls. You would think, screen passes, underneath stuff, slants, drag routes, No, they don't. They just keep playing the same exact way they played for the last 3 years when it's very obvious the defenses have caught up to you. But that's besides the point. The Chiefs get that win. It was a lot closer than I think most people would have wanted it to be, especially if you bet on the Chiefs. But the Packers, what about the Packers? They seem like they've been doing really good so far, right? They've won the last couple games. Actually, they won almost all their games except for the season opener. But how have they been winning? Well, that's what I wanted to bring up. So the Packers have actually gotten really lucky the last 2 weeks. And I say lucky, but really it's even worse than that. So last week they played the Cardinals. I went over this in our video in the recap last Friday because it was a Thursday night game. The Cardinals should have won that game several times over. And we already talked about this. So they turned it over 2 times in the red zone. One was like a muffed kick. The other was an interception. They blew the game-winning touchdown because A.J. Green forgot he was playing football. I don't know what the hell he was doing. So the Cardinals should have won several times. It should have been, I don't want to say an easy win, but it should have been a comfortable win for them. And it just didn't happen. The Packers got everything to bounce their way at the right time, at the right place, and they get the win. Cool. And the Cardinals are a good team. So you can't really, I'm not taking that away from the Packers. They won against a good team in a hard game. But what about the week before that? You might remember the Packers actually played Washington the week before that. Now, Tyler Heinicke had a great game other than he kept making these little miscues. That was a game, and I'm sure you heard about it, where Heinicke was running into the end zone. He was diving into the end zone, but even though nobody touched him, because he went head first, the referee had to spot the ball at like the half-yard line or something because his knee touched, which, ridiculous rule. Nobody touched him. He was just trying to protect. He was trying to score the touchdown. He was not trying to get down and like give himself up. But anyways, that was one play. Washington also like turned it over in the red zone. They actually it went into the Green Bay red zone 3 times and only came out with 3 points. So again, not saying that the Packers, didn't deserve it or whatever, but there is a certain amount of luck involved in football. And I just cannot believe that these last 2 wins have been solely the Packers having a great team and just they are truly this, only defeated once kind of team. Now the Chiefs have been on the other end of that, luck spectrum. They're the ones who turned it over in the red zone. They're having their own miscues, their own interceptions, their own, everything is going wrong for these guys. So it's very possible that both of these trends continue. The Packers get another win, or, they cover because it just went to +1. But, again, if you're betting this game, let me know, because I'm really curious as to which side you're taking. If I had to lay a number, I would probably say the Chiefs. But, again, I'm probably just totally staying away from this game because the Chiefs can't get out of their own way, and the Packers seem to have a damn, rabbit's foot shoved up their ass. So, the Packers, maybe they win, maybe they don't. I'm not touching it, but I'm really curious as to what y'all's thoughts are on that game. Again, I would probably be siding with the Chiefs if I had to pick one of these. Secondly, though, the other game I want to go over was the Raiders and the Giants. And again, as of right now, I don't have a pick on this game in particular. I do really like the Raiders. I think the Raiders -3 is going to probably be a pick that I add onto it. I have not worked up the full report on this just yet. My early coaching algorithm has the Raiders as 9-point favorites in this one. So there's definitely some value there, which is why I'm going to do the research into the rest of it. But the Giants last night, they seemed to just be able to kind of put together plays at the right time to extend their drives, to keep moving. Now, again, that's against the Chiefs and their terrible defense. It's probably going to be a little bit harder against the Raiders. But the Raiders are also a little unpredictable. They aren't always the most aggressive team. A lot of times they're going to just solely rely on Darren Waller, and it seems like he's going to be healthy coming out of this bye week. So again, just another reason I wanted to mention, if you can, follow me on Twitter. I'll put it in the description below, because once that's fully worked up, I probably won't have a video tomorrow. Maybe I will. But either way, once that's fully worked up, I'll give out the pictures and the pics and all that stuff on that particular game on Twitter. I just want to get this video out as soon as I could for today before the lines continue to change. All right. So lastly, what are the 2 picks then, if I'm talking about shit that I haven't picked yet? So one, I have the Chargers money line at the Eagles. Now the Chargers, obviously they lose the last game against the Patriots. Now if you didn't watch that, it ended up being a Chargers interception that kind of sealed the fate there, and the Patriots get the win. The Patriots played really, really well. Patriots have an amazing run game. Obviously they have a great coach. And Mac Jones is starting to feel comfortable. The receivers are working out for him. They had a couple of really great passes that I had not seen earlier in the season. And by great passes, I mean like the timing was done well. Execution was done well. Everything was just working for them. Those guys are really getting in the groove. And it still took a last-minute interception for them to get the win against the Chargers. This Eagles team, now they won against the Lions last week. And it was pretty convincing. It was like 44-6 or some ridiculous shit like that. The Lions, if you didn't watch that game, and I don't blame you if you didn't watch it, I had to. Lions were consistently dropping passes that entire game. And not just like, 1st and 10, they dropping a pass. I'm talking about like on 3rd and 5, and it's like an 8-yard pass, and it hits them square in the hands, and they're just dropping it. Dropping it or tipping it and getting intercepted. Just terrible jobs at terrible times. They missed field goals. They had 2 flags that brought back pretty big plays, like 20-plus yard plays. They went for it a 4th and inches at the end of the first half, didn't convert it, ended up giving back to the Eagles. And then Jalen Hurts, that entire game, it just seemed like every damn 3rd down, they let him run for a 1st down. It's like nobody was paying attention to the guy. They didn't know he could run or something. I have no idea. But he just consistently made them look stupid. I'm surprised that defensive coordinator was not getting his ass chewed out at halftime because Jalen Hurts just kept running on them. And I get it. He's Jalen Hurts. That's what he does. But still, you got to be aware of that, because it seems like they just put everybody in man coverage, turn their backs to him, and let him go. So that's not going to be the way this game goes. At least I don't think it's going to go for the Chargers. The Chargers' defense is much better, obviously, than the Lions. The Chargers' offense is much better than the Lions. Now, the one thing I will say is that they've actually had a somewhat similar schedule, I guess, between the Chargers and the Eagles. So if you're looking at just strength of schedule, Chargers have actually had the hardest schedule so far. Eagles have had the 22nd hardest. Not too terribly far apart. It's not like the Eagles have been playing a bunch of cakewalk games, so that's not too crazy. Offensive strength of schedule, the Eagles have had a top 10 as far as easiest strength of schedule. Chargers are 15th, which is basically middle of the road or average. Chargers have had a pretty easy schedule as far as defenses are concerned. They play teams like the Chiefs, who just basically don't have a defense at this point. Where the Eagles have played some really tough defenses the entire season. Offensively, the Chargers are ranked 11th DVOA. Eagles are ranked 21st. Defensively, the Chargers are ranked 16th, and the Eagles are ranked 23rd. So, like I said, defensively, Chargers have had a relatively easy schedule. They are, again, going to play a bottom 10 defense, so not a big difference there. Now, the Eagles have played, or they are the 21st 21st offense by DVOA, which means that they're not really good at the bottom third. That is going to be a little bit of a break for the Chargers. They're used to playing offenses just a little bit better than that. Now, as far as the predictions, grading algorithm goes, 27-18 is a prediction. Now, I do believe the Eagles probably do hit the upper tier of this, meaning that they go up one deviation, which would get them to about 25. Let's round it to 24 to make it a common number. That's going to be 27-24 with the Chargers winning that one by 3. I think the Chargers is probably pretty accurate. The defense of the Eagles is not great, obviously, but it's really not too much easier than what the Chargers are used to. And the Eagles, what they are good at is they're good at stopping explosive plays. So this is going to have to be a very limited offensive style. Got a lot of dink and dunk stuff, a lot of underneath stuff, which is actually fine for the Chargers because that's how they like to play. They like to let, Keenan Allen do a lot of underneath stuff, let Austin Eckler do a lot of work, just for either running or screen passes or whatever. Tight ends get a lot of work in that offense. So I don't think that's going to be like a huge transition for them, but it is going to be a slower paced game with that score probably being pretty indicative of what we should expect with the 27 points with the Chargers. But either way, that has the Chargers winning by about 3. The Madden algorithm also has them winning by about 3 points. So either way, I have them winning by about 3. Now, why am I taking the money line though? Why am I not laying the 2 or the 2.5, depending on what book you're at? Well, I do think that while I'm assuming here that the Chargers are going to win this game based on all of my numbers, I don't really feel comfortable laying the 3 or the 2 even, mainly because I could see this game coming down to like an extra point, to like a last-second field goal where they win by 1, something of that sort. I could definitely see this being a 1-point game, and since the 2 points or the 2.5 points is going to be like 120 as far as odds are concerned, you might as well just lay the extra couple cents and get the extra 2 points, in your favor. So to me, it makes sense. To me, I'm taking the Chargers money line. I'm only doing this one for a half unit. It's up to you if you wanted to do more than that or not. But that's the first play for this one. Second one is actually going to be another teaser. The teasers weren't so nice to us last week, but we're going back to them. Especially this time, I should say, we're going to especially be cognizant of the key numbers. So in this particular one, I am taking the Cowboys on part of the teaser. I do feel confident Dak is going to be playing in this game. I really think even if he doesn't play, they could probably still pull out a win. One of the bigger moves in this one, obviously, was Von Miller leaving and going to the Rams. Without Von Miller on that Broncos defense, I think it really impacts the entire defense. Obviously, he's a key player. Obviously, he was a key cog in that defense. But he was a great coverage player as well. And while the Cowboys, they're not, it's not like Travis Kelce's on the team, but guys like Dalton Schultz can get open. They can do some work. And if you have a subpar player trying to match up with him and or read either Dalton Schultz or Blake Jarwin and decide what they need to do, that could really hurt your defense, especially when the Broncos defense has not been playing well as it is. The Broncos defense is just going to take a pretty drastic step back. And it's funny because one player, should not make that huge of a difference. But when your defense has been revolving around this guy for such a long time, and we saw what happened last year when Von Miller was out, that Broncos defense just took a step back. And Vic Fangio, while he is good, as far as coordinating is concerned, I don't think he's going to have the right personnel to contend and keep that defense afloat, especially this week against the Cowboys. This is a bad time to lose one of your best players on defense. Aside from that, the other side of the ball, the Broncos offense, they have not really been able to do anything. Even last week against Washington, who has not had any sort of defense to what to speak of at all, they just really weren't able to get much going. They had a couple of really good passes to guys like Tim Patrick, and even like Jerry Jeudy had a good pass, or a good catch, I should say. But it's not really sustainable, and it's not every drive. It's kind of like those, needle in the haystack kind of plays where like, yeah, they'll have one really good one and it'll extend the drive, but they won't have another really good pass like that for, 2-3 more drives. And they're really relying on guys like Melvin Gordon, and it's really just a running game to keep the offense moving. Javonte Williams he's a good player, but it's really hard to keep the offense humming when Teddy is going to be a conservative guy. That's just the way he is. And when you don't really have a crazy deep threat, even with Jerry Jeudy, while I think he's great, I think he's still not 100%. And he looked fine last week, but I don't think he can be 100% after that high ankle sprain. That's usually like a 6-week injury for most guys. So while I'm thinking he's, obviously he's fine enough to be playing on it, I think he's probably going to get better as, the further he gets away from that injury. Either way, I grabbed this back when it was at -9.5, and I put it on a 6.5-point tease, so I got it down to 3. At this point, you'll either have to do a 7-point tease, or you'll have to find that 9.5 somewhere else at a different book. But the other part of that tease is the Steelers, bringing the Steelers down to a pick'em. So if you have the 6.5-point tease, again, if you find this at the 9.5, It's going to be the Cowboys -3, the Steelers on the pick'em. The Bears offense looked a lot better last week, with basically Matt Nagy out and not being involved, at least not on game day. Will we see that move forward? Maybe. Justin Fields looked a lot better. It looked like the offense was actually kind of revolved around him for 1 week at least. But if that doesn't stay, obviously the offense takes another step back. Even if it does stay and Justin Fields is going to go out there and they're going to make the offense around him, it's a lot harder playing against that Steelers defense. The 49ers defense is fine, but the Steelers defense, they've been able to really shut people out, to get after the quarterback. They have TJ Watt that's just a damn force everywhere on the field. Their secondary is great. It's just, even with injuries, they're just playing above their heads. They're doing really, really well. And against a team like the Bears with a rookie quarterback, I am almost going to guarantee you they're going to force him into a mistake that's going to be a costly mistake. And the Bears, I don't care how good their running backs are. I know Khalil Herbert has been like a good, diamond in the rough or whatever for a lot of people. That's fine. I think he's a good player. I don't think he's going to be able to do a whole lot against the Steelers' rush defense. I don't see how the Bears really put up more than like 17 points in this game. The Steelers, I don't think they're going to put up much more than that. They'll probably be like a 20, but I definitely see this being like a 20-14 game or even like a 17-10 game, something like that. But the Steelers get the win. I don't like laying the 6.5 or the 7 because in a game that I'm expecting very few points, and so is Vegas with the over-under being at 39.5, to lay 7 points out of a 39-point total, that's a huge chunk. That's asking a lot. That's asking for them to play perfect defensively and still get enough offense to win by that full touchdown margin, which is why I wanted to tease it down. In this case, the tease obviously gets down to a pick'em, so that works as well. So those are my 2 legs of the teaser. That's the second teaser for the week. Again, there may be one more pick, like I said, with the Raiders-Giants game, but just follow me on Twitter for that one. Other than that, guys, those are the 2 picks for today. Please follow me with that Canelo pick. Again, obviously it's gambling. Only locks are sold at Home Depot, so I can't guarantee anything. But that pick is one of the picks that I have felt most confident about as far as boxing is concerned in a really long time. So thanks again. Have a great day. Have some good luck out there. Let me know what you guys think about that Packers-Chiefs game, and I'll see you soon.